Okay, hello everyone. How are you guys doing? Okay, one second. Okay. Hello everyone. How are you guys doing today? Hope everyone's having a great day today. Hey everyone. Hey guys. Anyone who needs help, just invite me. When is the lore video coming out? I'm gonna make a post about that later tonight, but it's gonna take me a couple more days, because I didn't realize how long it was. The lore video is gonna be fairly long, by the way. It's gonna be well over probably 30 minutes. And there's a few movie scenes that I actually want to use from The Godfather to explain it to. But I'm gonna have 4 shorts this week that I'm also gonna post, and including one of the shorts is actually a lore video. Oh, hey Marcus, you can tell me what your PSN is, and I can add you. Okay, thank you, Soviet man. Anyone need help today? Send me an invite. I will help you. Anyone need help? Do we have bank holidays? You mean days that banks are closed? Yeah. Uh. Okay, Brandon. Yeah, the copyright in YouTube is getting ridiculous. Can you send me an invite to your location, Brandon, please? Because I'm literally across the map. Oh. No, Sam is much worse than Tommy because Tommy doesn't betray his friends. I'm somewhat a Star Wars fan. Yeah. My buddy Excalibur told me about you and I subscribed. Well, thank you for subscribing, dude. Thank you, everybody who has subscribed. How long do I think Salvatore would have gone in prison for? Probably 20 years, yeah. He would have done 20 years in the can. I would say yes, Drifter Kids. Yeah, Polly and Sam were still scumbags, but Sam was the worst one. Hey, Aussie guy. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for 4 years. Thanks, dude. Remember that kid who got suspended for his haircut? Unless I'm mistaken, he actually lost because the judge claimed that Crown didn't prevent dress code restrictions for length hair. He left the district as a result? What? Wait, that video I did years ago on that case? That's ridiculous. why does a school even like why does a school even care about like haircuts that kids have? Like I can understand if it's like, if it's something like offensive or if it's something like, unhealthy in a haircut, but like, just having like different haircut styles that should not matter to the school. Schools are a learning environment. They're not, they shouldn't be caring what kind of haircut somebody has. It's kind of stupid. I remember your advice to try my hand at being a radio DJ. I went for an interview last month, though I didn't get the job. I appreciate your advice. Well, don't give up, dude. Uh, I hope that you keep trying. And there are other places also. I'm sure other radio places that you can also apply to. My first interview, I remember I thought it went good, but it actually went bad, and it kind of like got me in a down mood, and it hurt me for some time. But yeah, but I guess I shouldn't have dwelled on it so much as I did. Okay, Nasty, well, I hope everything goes good for you. I did see the Hell Let Loose Vietnam trailer. No, Nico at least had some morals. Dimitri had no morals. Dimitri was just like a cruel, evil human being. Really, really bad person. Bought my first motorcycle today. Wish me luck. I do wish you luck, Daily Dose. Motorcycles can be fun, but just make sure you're careful where you drive it. Like, if I want to drive a motorcycle, but not in the city. You might need to move some of the other cars out of the way first. Faustin has morals? Yeah, to a degree. Faustin doesn't betray people. Yeah, well, Nico fought for Yugoslavia, but Yugoslavia was mainly Serbia at that time. Oh crap. Oh crap, sorry. Do you think Faustin is an antagonist, temporary antagonist? Or maybe like false antagonist? I got a confession. There was a, there was this homophobic scammer influencer years back. I used sociopathic ways to make him quit. I'm proud of doing this. Well, thank you, Suspect13, for the super chat. I don't know what you did, but I will just say is that these scammers are just massive scumbags. They're really, really terrible people. What the hell? The cops in here too? But oh, great! Come on! Oh my god! This now. The thing is, when I trolled these scammers, right? The scammers, I told the scammers that I had a sick mom in the hospital. I didn't. I just said that just to see how they would react, and they still tried to scam me. So like these scammers are just so evil. They will take advantage of everyone. They don't care who the person is. They don't care if the person's on their deathbed. They will still try to scam the person. Won't be able to watch the stream. Is about to sleep. Have a good stream, and also thank you. Talking to you and watching your videos helped me out a lot. No problem, WRV. Take care and have a good sleep. Is there a chance El Rubio will be in GTA 6? Yeah, huge chance, because Vice City is closer to Cayo Perico than Los Santos is. Cayo Perico's in the Caribbean. So yeah, very much so. He could be even the main antagonist. Thank you, JDM, for the super chat. They probably, yes, they did, Gazella. Hey Pro, can you upload your full reaction to Call of Duty Black Ops 7 direct that covers overflows such as campaign, multiplayer, and zombies? I think it'll be a great video for the channel. Is it the video that people were like saying was like really lazy? Like which one? Because I know there's like one Call of Duty video they released and people were saying, oh, the game looks bad. Is it that one that you're talking about, Broden? Today's Azula's voice actress, Greta Lyle's birthday. Oh, yeah. She was just such a psychotic character in Avatar. I remember her. Guy, that was an accident. One of your guys named Unconverting tried to scam me for 150, and your community members did something. Well, I will look into this after the stream. Then this is the first time that I'm hearing about this. When did this happen? What day? Pro, answer before. Isn't it that lazy viewers are trying to hate watch as forcefully to pick Battlefield 6 as their next game? I think a lot of people are saying it's also lazy because they abandoned Black Ops 6 so quickly. God, I'm gonna look into that ISOF, but I don't believe that Sheep Taco would do something like that. I've known Sheep Taco for years, and I don't believe that he would do something like that. He's the nicest person I know. Okay. Rest in peace, Jerry Adler. Wait, who's somebody 32? Wait, okay. The actor for Hesh? Oh, Hesh is actor. Oh, I didn't know about that. Well, I will talk to Sheep Taco Man about this. But I don't personally believe that Sheep Taco Man would be involved in something like this. Deliver the thermal charges. Okay, here we go. Have I played Cyberpunk? No, but I've watched my friends play it. I just bought Battlefield 2042 for 95% off. Wow, they're desperate. They are. Are the mansions confirmed? They are. Rockstar basically said it, that mansions are being released in December. Okay, invite me to the bunker when you get the chance. Yeah, I used to curse a lot more, like in my Walking Dead video back in the day. I won't do any Yakuza lore videos until I complete the series, because I only played Yakuza 0, that was my only one that I played, I didn't play any others. I do remember that one, Adrian. Mike Brewski says that. Planning to play Mafia 2? I already did. I have the first part of Mafia 2 tonight. No, I've never been to Germany. Invite me to the bunker when you get the chance, please. Are you planning on covering Black Ops 7 Director's video? If I have time, I'm just very busy this week starting up. I have to finish this lore video that I've been working on. I want to get this one out as quick as possible. No, you're not being rude, Sagesta. About a week and a half, Zach 42. Yeah, I will play, Brandon. I'll play it with you later. But you said it's gold, right? If it's gold, let's just do it me and you. Because I think me and you, I think we can... two people, we can steal almost all the gold on aggressive, too. So I think we can do it. Who are you talking about, Gazala? Mafia the Old... for me, the game of the year this year is going to be Mafia the Old Country, or it will be Ghost of Yotei. Probably going to be Ghost of Yotei, but I guess we'll see. What do I think about Metal Gear Solid Delta? I'm excited for it. I'm going to play it when it comes out. Where were Zeppelin airships discontinued? Well, Zeppelins still exist today. They're just not for travel, really. They're more for sightseeing. Saudi Arabia has some pretty brutal laws, Gazala. What are your thoughts on Solidus? I think that Solidus was more like a, I think he was more like an anti-hero than a villain. He did do evil things, like he killed Raiden's parents and killing Olga, but at the end of the game, he did want to get rid of the Patriots and, you know, create a republic where everybody was free from them. My real name is Nikun, Nikun J. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you can call me Nikki if that's easier for you. Okay. They also became massive targets with AA, so that's why they weren't really used in World War II. Hello, professional. Currently unemployed and don't have school until the fall. Just wanted to share that. Have a good time. Don't let the idiots stop you. Thank you for the super chat, Cayman, but I hope everything's okay with you, and I hope you are able to find work and school does go good for you. Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, the Templars ultimately do want to control everyone. Solidus didn't really want to control everybody. I mean, he kind of wanted to be seen as like the next George Washington, but he didn't really want to rule over people's personal lives. You ever have narcissistic management? Yes, I've had narcissists. Yes, I've dealt with them before. What have you ever thought about parasocial relationships. Have you ever thought that some of your viewers might be having them? What is that? What's a parasocial? What is that? Can you explain a bit more? Which one do you think is worse, communists or monarchies? Well, both of them generally do horrible things, but it would depend on in general, communists in general are worse than monarchies typically, but it would depend on the monarchy also. Like, if we are comparing, like, for example, if we're comparing, like, the communists in, like, Vietnam, for example, to, like, I would say the Japanese monarchy. The communists in Vietnam were less worse than the Japanese monarchy, but at the same time, as monarchy is not necessarily a good thing too. Those monarchies. 1 second, guys. I gotta get my USB charger here. But in general, I dislike communists tremendously. I would rather live under a monarchy than live under a communist society if I had the choice. As much as I dislike monarchy, I support republics. I think monarchies are out of date, but I would much rather live under a monarchy than live under a communist society, because at least in the monarchy I have greater control over my life and I can make as much money as I want. Or in a communist society, they're going to dictate everything in my personal life. Sad news. One of our dogs died. Rest well, Frida. I'm sorry, DL Gaming. You have my condolences. I'm really sorry. Parasocial relationships, one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party, the person is completely unaware of the other's existence. But what do you mean that when you say that's when he was asking me about that, saying some of my viewers have that? I don't know what he meant, what he was implying with that. But thank you, Cayman, for the super chat. Have I met any fans in real life? Not necessarily that I went to go meet fans. I've gotten recognized in public before with people that watch me, but dumbest or craziest video game theory that you've heard. Also, another casino heist ready if no second person has one. Thank you, Raccoon. The stupidest theory I think I've heard is probably that Michael is Claude. Yeah, Michael is Claude. I think that was a really stupid one that I heard before. I'm the persona? What do you mean by that? I care about all my viewers. Does that scare you? Do you, do you enjoy when people recognize you? I wouldn't say that I enjoy it or that I dislike it. I'm kind of neutral on that. I do appreciate that people have recognized me, but at the same time, I don't want it to be like to a point where everybody's like recognizing me, stuff like that. I do want my privacy. Would I rather be surrounded by a million ducks or a million chickens? That's a weird question to ask. I don't know. Guess ducks, maybe? I don't know. Justified? That's the one with Timothy Oliphant, right? But I haven't watched it, but I know the one you're talking about. I was just wondering because many YouTubers have spoken about how some subs think they know them or are closer than them than they actually are because the YouTuber can't possibly know their fans. Well, I can't know every single one of my fans because, you know, I have over 1,100,000 people that are subscribed to me. I recognize a lot of people that are in chat that are very active and leave comments, but I can't recognize every single one of my viewers, but I do generally care about my viewers, and I care about what my viewers think of me. Like, I would much rather have viewers that like me as a person and respect me than, you know, have millions more viewers but, you know, resort to, like, clickbait tactics, for example. I recognize you, Javi. Yeah, you've come into streams before a lot. I spent hours yesterday helping one of my viewers get crates on GTA Online. Oh, I do care about my viewers, and I like helping them and playing with them. I guess people might think that about me because I don't, how do I say this? I don't know the way to describe my personality, but it's that in general I'm a pretty serious person in general. A lot of times it's just my nature, my attitude. I'm just serious a lot of times, but that's just how I am. I can't really explain it, and so, you know, I guess people never see me really laughing or, you know, doing stuff like that. But that's just the way I am, and it's not that I don't care about anyone. It's just that I'm just a lot of times I'm pretty serious. I have a straight face. I don't tend to laugh and stuff. Do you think the Angolan War for Independence was justified? Yes and no. I think it was I think that any people on this planet are justified in, you know, fighting for their sovereignty and their independence, especially from, like, you know, somebody who's occupying them. However, though, I will say at the same time, though, that communists were heavily involved in the Angolan War of Independence, and the communists that were heavily involved in the Angolan War of Independence, they basically ruined and destroyed Angola. Hey, Tommy Angelo, sorry for sending too many donations. What are you apologizing for? I don't understand. Is this the Krusty Krab? Hey, Justin, thank you for sponsoring my channel for a year. No, this is Patrick. Raha Jackson video, what's that? Who's that? If people pay attention, they would know when you find something funny amusing. It would take watching more than a couple of videos not to have a mask that completely covers your face. LOL. Yeah. I guess there's that. There are things that there are things that I find funny, but I don't laugh a lot of times. If you guys want to see me laughing, though, there's a video I uploaded maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago where I was actually laughing. But the video that I was laughing on, I uploaded that video where CEO got caught cheating on live TV. That one I was laughing on when I watched his reaction. This CEO basically was having an affair with the HR lady, and he took her to a concert. And during the concert, they actually the camera went to them, and then they tried to just jump out of the camera's view to hide their affair, and I was laughing at that. But I guess that is I do have things that I find funny. Which bombs should I get for the aircraft? I typically just use the regular bombs. I used to use the clusters, but I don't really use those anymore. I just use the regular ones. Marsoft, thank you for the super chat. They're just larger in general. Are you going to dress up as Lucia for the GTA 6 playthrough as well? I love your video, by the way. Would I play Cyberpunk? You love the crime world and the lore, and seeing your input in it would be cool. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you for the super chat. Am I? But if you're asking me if I'm gonna dress up though in like female clothing, no. For GTA 6, if Lucia is wearing something that like both men and women wear, then yeah, I'll cosplay that. But I'm not gonna dress up in female clothing. But I know you're joking. Thank you, Antonio. This is the last dance for Lance Vance. Also, Mark is asking you a question in chat. Okay, Raccoon. What's your question, Mark? And thank you, Raccoon, for the super chat. That's up to you. If you think you're good at it, Mark, you could succeed and maybe get monetized on it as well. Wait, what do you mean with the Torador, Marsov? Hey IDK, how are you? Would I ever live stream a Fallout game on the channel? Yeah. I used to do like Fallout 4 streams in like 2017. That was a long time ago. Am I gonna watch the Fallout show? Yeah, but I am pissed about the Fallout show. I'm really angry that it's gonna be weekly. I don't like that. I don't like when series are weekly. Like I remember the last season of Fallout, it was all all at once. Like they released all the episodes together. I hate when they do like weekly. I just don't like that. I hate waiting every single week for the episode. I'd rather just binge. If I'm watching like a TV show, what I'll do is I'll binge watch like a fourth of it every day. So, like, that's what I'll typically do and finish it within a week. But I hate that. I hate when they do stuff like that. And the thing is, this December is like the perfect month. It's the perfect month to chill. Like most people are on vacation from holidays and stuff like that. And December is a great month to chill. December is my favorite month of the year, probably I'd say. And so it gets me annoyed that this is gonna like stretch out into February now. I got Damien Reacts to watch Ungrateful Wings 500. Who's Damien Reacts? He's a React channel? And you mean you got him to react to the video where Wings was complaining about the $500 donation? There we go. Who is worse, Woodrow Wilson or Lyndon B. Johnson? Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, Woodrow Wilson, I would say, is worse. Woodrow Wilson got America involved in World War I. He got over 100,000 Americans, 115,000 Americans killed in World War I. A president getting us involved in a war that we didn't really have a business in fighting in the first place, I think is probably the stupidest thing. Also, Woodrow Wilson, on top of that, he also created the federal income tax. So whenever you do a federal income tax, just think Woodrow Wilson did that. Woodrow Wilson also suspended the First Amendment. He made it illegal to criticize him and protest against American involvement in World War I. You get locked up for that. And on top of that, he was also a massive racist who showed videos of the KKK in the White House. So that's, so literally, yeah, as bad as Johnson is, Wilson is worse. Do I like Star Wars? And if so, do I like the sequels? No. I like Star Wars, but I don't like the new movies. If you're asking me, do I like the new movies? No. I like the prequels, I like the originals, but I don't like the new ones. No. I just don't like the direction they went in. Honestly speaking, you know what they should have done? They should have just followed the Legends material. That's what they should have just done. I would have liked to see them do like movies on the Yuzong Vong. Like the Yuzong Vong are supposed to be like they are basically based on like Star Wars version of the Mongolian Empire. That's basically what they are, and they're these barbarians that come from like a different galaxy, and they start invading like the Star Wars galaxy in different planets. And I really wish that they would have done like movies about that instead of like what we had with the First Order and all this other stuff. And also, when the Yuzon Vong invaded the Star Wars galaxy, that conflict was way bigger than the Galactic Civil War. Like, that conflict was huge in Legends, and like billions of people died in that conflict in the Star Wars Legends. But they just abandoned that. Hey, Pro, so the reason why I think Cesare is Mafia Lance Vance because Lance was jealous, although Cesare cared about his family, but they lost power. Cesare was jealous, yes. Jealousy was part of it, I would say, too. But he's, yeah, I wouldn't say he's as bad as Lance. Wait, what happened? Saying help, what happened, Dragon? Thank you, Dudas, for the, super chat. And thank you, Zombfected Gaming. Lyndon B. Johnson is in Metal Gear Solid 3. Oh. Oh, okay, well, I guess we'll see. We're gonna play Metal Gear Solid Delta in a couple days. I was trying to tell you, Lego Marvel 1 is one of, like, 99% of Lego games on sale on Steam. Even the Batman Trilogy DLC is, like, $15 to $20. If you, gonna get them, I'll give you a list. But do it ASAP. Are these games available on PlayStation? Because if they're on PlayStation, I'd rather play them on PlayStation. I just always prefer playing games on PlayStation, but if they're not on PlayStation, then I'll get them on PC. Thank you, Blind Eagle. Have I ever played GTA Advance? No, but I've seen a little gameplay of it on YouTube. Thank you, Ryan, Smash Retro Gaming. Thanks, dude. I know GTA Advance takes place 1 year before GTA 3. Rogue One was okay, but Rogue One I don't really count as a sequel. It's a Rogue One I would say is more like a prequel in a way, but not like the original prequels. It's a prequel to Episode 4. What made you like the Yuzon Vong? I don't necessarily like the Yuzon Vong. I just thought they were interesting villains. The reason that I like the Yuzon Vong storyline is because in Star Wars Legends, the Imperial remnants were not the evil guys. Where in the Galactic Civil War, the Imperials are the evil ones, but the Yuzon Vong are way worse than the Imperials. Like, they are way worse. And what happens is the Imperial remnants, their planets actually get attacked by the Yuzon Vong, and the Imperial remnants and the rebellion actually team up to actually fight against the Yuzon Vong. Like, I wish we would see something like that, like the Imperial remnants and the rebels like teaming up to stop this threat that's fighting that they're both fighting against. But that would have been a cool story that we would have seen in like a movie or something. But no, instead it's, we get the sequels. Please give condolences to JP, the French cake streamer. Did I see Raha Johnson repeatedly punching an unconscious wrestler? No, that's people were mentioning Raha earlier in chat, but I didn't know what that was about. I don't even know who Raha Johnson is. About JP, the French cake streamer. Didn't that happen a few weeks ago? But I think I know the story. Is this recent or am I thinking of someone else? But Raha Jackson. But my condolences go out to JP, the French cake streamer. Is this about the animal like YouTuber that got bullied? Is that what I'm thinking of, or is this someone else? Jerry Adler, the guy who played Hesh, died. Yeah, people told me that earlier. Yeah. That is sad. Hesh was one of the best characters on that show too, and Hesh was actually one of the least evil characters in The Sopranos. No, the guy got tortured live on Cake. Oh, that one. That one I heard about that one too. Man, that's horrible. You know, why are some people just so cruel and just have no morals whatsoever? Okay, Jobby. Well, I mean, don't get nervous about going to school. The one thing I did look forward to when I went to school, when I started up school, is that at least I get to see my friends. That was the one thing I looked forward to. Do a current events about Uber driver slamming a passenger in South Carolina. Wait, what happened? What? Have I ever played Hold Fast Nations at War? Long time ago. Very long time ago, but I know it's like the Napoleonic games. I think it has like a World War I expansion also, right? I see your chat line, Eagle. Do I think the Nicaraguans were right in deposing the Somozas? It's a shame that Daniel Ortega has turned Nicaragua into another hereditary dictatorship similar to what the Somozas did. Well, it's the same thing with Castro. You know, the people that Castro overthrew were bad people. Like Batista was the dictator of Cuba, and so when Castro overthrew him, Castro was seen as like a national hero. But you know, Castro basically just turned Cuba into a communist dictatorship. Yeah, I can read chat, JBK. Pro, why did the Spanish stay neutral in World War II? And also, did the Allies ever find out that Spain was secretly giving intelligence to the Axis powers? The reason that Spain stayed neutral in World War II is for a few reasons. The first reason is that Spain did not think they would really get anything out of it. The second reason is that the Spanish Civil War just ended. Franco only came to power in 1936, so their country was still in ruin from the Civil War. And so Spain, it really made no sense for them jumping into a war when they had just been in a civil war. And also, yes, the Allies knew that the Spanish were sharing intelligence with the Germans. They knew that. That's actually why, yeah. That's actually why they did that, why they dumped that body on the Spanish coast. Because they knew that the Spanish were gonna, they dumped the body with a homeless guy that died from rat poison, eating rat poison, and they dressed him up as a royal officer, Operation Mincemeat. And they dropped him off the coast of Spain with a submarine, and they made him handcuffed, a leather suitcase that was waterproof, with documents saying that they were going to invade Greece and they were going to invade Sardinia, and Hitler believed it, and he took troops away from Sicily, and then the Allies invaded through Sicily. Wasn't this the same with Switzerland? Switzerland, when it comes to Switzerland and Spain, they're both neutral countries. They did interfere on both sides, but it's a little bit different. Spain was more politically sympathetic to Germany, for example, because Spain was a fascist country as well, so they were more sympathetic politically to Germany. But when it comes to Switzerland, Switzerland was neutral, but Switzerland did business with both sides. They did business with the Axis and they did business with the Allies. It was just all about making money with Switzerland. That was basically their main thing. They didn't really care about the ideologies. It was just more about making money with both sides. That's Switzerland's attitude. And Switzerland also attacked both sides in World War II. Like, Switzerland shot down, Axis aircraft, and they shot down Allied aircraft that flew over their country. Spain didn't really attack, for the most part, didn't really attack aircraft that flew over their country. I can talk about that, Gunner, when I play Black Ops 2, yeah. Do you think Switzerland is in the wrong for that? When it comes to staying neutral, not necessarily, because they would have gotten invaded and conquered, if they had gotten involved. However, though, Switzerland did some pretty bad things. Switzerland, deposited, like, stolen Nazi gold, for example. They did that. Like, the Nazis had, like, pillaged and, invaded so many countries, and they took all that stolen money and deposited it in Switzerland, and a lot of it was never found to this day. So that's the thing about Switzerland, is Switzerland did deal in blood money, because they dealt with, like, money that Germany was, like, looting from other countries. How's the heat where I live? It's not that bad. 70s and 80s last few days. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for nearly 2 years. So, when it comes to Switzerland, they weren't necessarily in the wrong for being neutral, but they were in the wrong for being, doing business with the Nazis. Their banks did launder some really bad things. Hey, bro, did you see the whole Roblox scandal going off for the past couple of weeks? It generally makes me sad that one of my childhood games that I grew up playing is a CEO that defends pedophilia. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Offlearner. Thank you for the super chat. There was this YouTuber that was, like, exposing, like, pedophiles that were on Roblox, and then the CEO just banned him, or Roblox banned that YouTuber that was doing that. And so he was getting, like, predators off the game, and then they, banned him, which... Hey, Shiny Knight. No, you're not late. Do I plan on playing the older Hitman games? Yeah. Nice outfit, thank you. No, I never watched that, Leland. Did I hear the news about the SIG handguns firing randomly? It's the SIG P320, if I'm correct on that, right? Don't buy that handgun. That is, no. That's, You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that Japanese World War II handgun that would just randomly go off. And now there's a modern version of that with the SIG gun. I think it was the Nambu. Yeah, it was a Nambu gun. I don't remember which one it was, but it accidentally went off on its own. How long do you think it will take me to get to 500 million? I'm at 405 million. I was at 445 million, but spent it. If it depends on the event weeks. If you get some pretty good event weeks, some good double money event weeks, and you do businesses and you do heists, you could probably hit that if you played every day. If you played every day and you made, like, around $2 million every day on GT Online, you could hit that goal in, like, 3 months. Well, purest difficulty, you don't know when they're staring at you, minion. That's what that is. Bro, did you know that Hitler was Christian? That's not true. Hitler was born into the Roman Catholic faith. That much is true. However, though, later in life, there is really no proof that Hitler was a Christian. There's no record of him being a member of a church when he was, older, like right when he was like in his 20s. No proof of that. Now, the reason that people say that Hitler was a Christian was because in Hitler's speeches he mentions like God a lot of times. He mentions God, and Hitler has attended. When Hitler was in power, he attended church ceremonies like mass and stuff like that, but it was usually for some kind of specific event, like it was like for a funeral of like some German general or something like that. In private, Hitler actually despised Christianity, and Hitler also made laws where he restricted Christianity. Like, for example, all Catholic schools were essentially banned in Germany. They were banned, shut down, and on top of that, what happened was crosses were actually removed from German schools. Hitler, in the table talks, Martin Bormann was Hitler's personal secretary. Martin Bormann would write down like Hitler's thoughts on politics and other things while Hitler was eating with other generals. And when Hitler said about Christianity, he said that Christianity was one of the worst things that happened to Germany. And on top of that, he said that he admired Shintoism. He admired Shintoism in Japan because the Japanese are willing to die for their emperor. That's why he admired Shintoism. So it was Hitler was not a fan of Christianity. Now Hitler tolerated Lutheranism more. Lutheranism, which is a traditional German Christianity. He liked that more, but he really hated Catholicism. He did not like Catholicism. So there's really no proof that Hitler was a there's really no proof that Hitler was a Christian. There's really no proof for that. Like, I hear people say, he was a Christian. There's no proof for that. But at the same time there is no proof that Hitler was an atheist either. Like, people say, he was an atheist, he didn't believe in God. There's no proof for that either. There's no proof he was an atheist, and there really is no proof that he was a Christian either. We know that he wasn't either. He wasn't either a Christian or an atheist. He believed in supernatural stuff, but he didn't believe in Christian stuff too. He most likely worshipped like the ancient Germanic gods, like how the SS had like worshipped these ancient German pagan gods. That's probably what he ultimately believed in. Hitler believed in fate really strongly. He believed in he believed that it was his destiny and his fate and everything like that. And if you're an atheist, you're not really going to believe in stuff like that, because fate and destiny, stuff like that, is typically tied in supernatural stuff. So, somebody needs to be pulling the strings for there to be fate and destiny and stuff. So, but Hitler, what Hitler also did, Hitler went after atheists as well. He shut down the German free thinking organization, which was the largest largest atheist group in Germany. He shut that down. So it was the thing about Hitler when it comes to religion is that I have seen people leave comments before, and they say, oh, Hitler was an atheist, and therefore, like, all atheists are bad people. Or you'll have people say, oh, Hitler was a Christian, and therefore all Christians were bad people. Like, people will say stuff like that. But what they're doing is they're essentially like making up a religion for Hitler just to make the other side look bad. So I've seen atheists that say that Hitler is a Christian, and I've seen Christians that say that Hitler was an atheist. But the ironic thing about this is that Hitler was neither a Christian nor an atheist, and yet people keep calling him both. And he hated both. He hated both atheists and he hated both Christians. If you play GTA Advance, I'd check out Liberty City 2001 and 2001 they dropped. These GTA 3 mods are in Liberty City series-style remake of GTA 3 and GTA by adding extra dialogue and features from later GTAs. Oh, okay, Nick. You know what I gotta play? I gotta play like the Forelli story. It's like a mod, but it's like a Forelli thing for GTA, and also the Sindako Chronicles. I gotta play that one too. What religion is Hitler then? We don't know. We don't know what his religion was. The only thing that we know about Hitler's religion is we know he was not a Christian, and we know he wasn't an atheist. That's the only thing we know. So he wasn't either an atheist or a Christian. We don't know what his religious views are on the other thing. He hated Christians, he hated atheists. He did talk about supernatural stuff, he talked about destiny, he talked about his fate, stuff like that. But other than that, there's really no proof. Yeah, it's pretty much a mystery. I personally think he probably believed in the ancient Germanic gods. That's what I think. Have I ever watched Boys in the Hood? Oh, yeah. I watched Boys in the Hood when I was a kid. It was a great movie. I love Boys in the Hood, yeah. That was a great movie. Wait, you said Tick History explained it? What did Tick History say about Hitler's religious views? I'm curious. I've watched that channel before. He's a historian channel. I know that channel. Let me see. I know it's rather far-fetched, but do you do Kiwami 2 sometime next year, getting 100% completion, and that is way easier than 0 in Kiwami 1. And is Kiwami 1 worse in 100% than 0, or 0 worse? But I gotta, next week I'm gonna finally finish Yakuza 0. I gotta get to that 100%, but the Mahjong is gonna be the worst part. What drugs was Hitler on? Hitler, I think, took cocaine, and he took meth. So that's a pretty unstable mind right there. What are your thoughts on the League of Nations post-World War I? Could it have worked if the U.S. was in full support? The thing about that is not really, because the U.S. would not have wanted to get involved in European affairs. So no, I would, the League of Nations was just doomed from the start. And also, even you could make the argument that even the United Nations is pretty useless. You can make the argument even in that, because a lot of times the United Nations, a lot of times they expect like the United States to take care of everything. A lot of times in the UN, they're not as bad as like the League of Nations. The League of Nations was way worse, but the United Nations has had a lot of failures before. They failed to keep the peace in Rwanda. They failed to keep the peace in Yugoslavia. They failed to keep the peace in East Timor. Like, literally, the UN has had disaster after disaster.
How you doing?
My favorite boss battle, Metal Gear Solid 2, the fighter jet, probably. The Harrier, yeah. Okay, I'll make sure to add them to my wish list. And the ones I can't get on, I will get them on Steam. Then Blinded Eagle.
I take it this isn't a social call.
Yeah, well, Emily, the UN is better than the League of Nations, but that's not really a high bar necessarily to pass. You know what was, I'll tell you guys something. One of the United Nations' biggest failures that people don't know about is in East Timor. So the background behind East Timor is a very small country that is in Asia. It's actually north of Australia, but it used to be part of Indonesia. It was its own country, and what happened was in the 1970s, Indonesia invaded East Timor. And they annexed it. And Indonesia claimed that they were doing that to prevent like a communist revolution, and that there was going to be a communist revolution that was going to happen in East Timor, and they didn't want a communist country next door. But what happened was when the Cold War ended and the Soviet Union collapsed, they can't really use that excuse anymore. And what happened is Indonesia had an independence referendum in East Timor. But the purpose of this independence referendum was basically to... the reason that the Indonesians were doing it is because they wanted to basically say, oh, look, the majority of East Timorans, want to be part of Indonesia, so that the rest of the world would basically shut up about it and stop talking about it. But what happened was, the Indonesians did not understand how much the East Timorans hated them. Like, they really did not like Indonesia and their occupation. So Indonesia thought that the East Timorans wanted to be part of Indonesia, but in reality they didn't. And when the referendum happened, the choice was that they stay part of Indonesia, but they get more sovereignty, or they get full independence. And full independence, I think, won like 80% of the vote. So it was an overwhelming majority of people that won to leave. And Indonesia got really mad about East Timor leaving, but they couldn't do anything at that point because it was a international referendum. And so what ended up happening is what Indonesia did is they basically funded a bunch of these crazy like militias, and they went into East Timor and they just started killing people and murdering people. And what happened was the United Nations they took way too long to respond, and then Australia ended up sending troops into East Timor and then calmed things down for several years. And those militias in East Timor had killed so many people. False propaganda? Well, I don't know why I said that is false, but that is the history. Why was Dino Banian so arrogant and cocky? Because he was a narcissist. He basically thought he could do whatever he wanted. My weekend was good. How was yours? But the United Nations basically the United Nations were the ones who pushed for that referendum to happen in East Timor. And then when East Timor actually got their independence, the United Nations really did nothing to protect the country, and those Indonesian militias killed so many people. Like you could even argue it was genocide what the Indonesian militias were doing. It was really bad. A lot of people got killed, and the United Nations was really useless in that situation. Australia were the ones who really fixed it. The Australian army invaded, and they got rid of those militias, and they helped stabilize East Timor. Do you think Hitler and Stalin were born evil since they were born? I wouldn't be surprised if Hitler and Stalin admired Satan. The thing about this is that I don't really know how to answer this question. Is that some people are just evil, just no matter what. It doesn't matter what home they come from. They're just some people are just evil. Just how some people are. When it comes to both Stalin and Hitler both came from abusive households, pretty abusive households. Hitler's mother, I know that Hitler really loved his mother. Apparently she was caring, but his father was like extremely abusive. And when it came to Stalin was the other way around. Stalin's mother was the one that was extremely abusive to him. So it was that both of them, came from like abusive households. But the thing about that is, you could say that their abuse maybe like contributed to how they became as people, but there are plenty of people that came from like abusive households and they turned out to be just fine. Like, this is a little personal, but like my dad, for example, my grandfather was a pretty abusive guy. He was not a nice man. I never knew him, but from what I heard about him, and he did hit my father. But my father did not turn out to be like that at all. So that's basically what I'll say about this, is that there are people that like come from like abusive households, but they turn out to be just fine, nice people later in their lives. But then other people, they're extremely evil. I think that Hitler and Stalin always had some evil in them. They're just bad people in general. But I think that the abuse probably contributed a bit to how they grew up too. You think NATO will be the real bad guys in Battlefield 6? Well, I know, for example, that the Pax Armada can't be the bad guys in Battlefield 6. You know why? Because Pax Armada means a Latin Army of Peace, and there's no way that somebody who is called the Army of Peace would be the bad guys. No, they're probably peaceful. No, I'm joking. They're probably the bad guys, but that's the thing, is that a lot of bad people have actually had peace in their name, and they actually turned out to be far from peaceful. But when it comes to Battlefield 6, I hope we get a good storyline, like a decent one. Uh, but I will say that I hope they give some kind of background, some kind of explanation on how the Pax Armada formed, like where it came from, like, you know, why they broke away from NATO, because they're former uh they're former NATO countries. Like Pax Armada are former NATO countries. So like I think France is like part of Pax Armada in Battlefield 6, because in the teaser it says that France leaves NATO, and then it says Gibraltar gets invaded, which Spain makes claims to Gibraltar, so maybe Spain is part of Pax Armada too. But I guess we'll see exactly, like, you know, why these countries left NATO, what happened in the storyline. I hope it's like a good storyline. I hope it's not just. I hope they don't create some storyline. Oh, there was just some coup in France, and then a dictator came to power and just decided to be evil. I hope it's not like that. I hope it's like something more. Explain something that was going on, like something that happened over time. They got pissed and something like that, some kind of dispute, and then they broke away. Like so, that would make much more sense instead of doing it where some evil guy just comes to power all of a sudden. No problem, Toxic. I know Oversimplified. I haven't really watched that channel, but I have watched Simple History.
I hope someone reported that.
Where did you send it, Zach? Was it on Twitter? How much do you think the mansions are going to cost? Probably a few million. This is the outfit I've had in my GTA Online character for a very long time, is this outfit. What do you think would have happened if Hitler hadn't been rejected from art school? I think the exact same thing would have still happened. You know, people always say, oh, if Hitler got into art school, all this bad stuff would not have happened. But what people do not understand is that Hitler, that was just how Hitler was. Like, he was like this raging ultra-nationalist. And it was only a matter of time until Hitler was going to get involved in politics. So even if Hitler got into art school, maybe he would have sat there for a few years, you know, painted some things. But it was only a matter of time until he would have gotten into gotten into politics. So that's basically what I'll say about that. Is he was gonna get into politics regardless. People think the art school thing was like the thing that set him off, but no, he was always like that. I could one day, Warrior, but I gotta make a video on the Ronin and on the Vice Kings first before I do that. I do have a great lore video coming out this week. What would have been the best time for Germany to assassinate Hitler? Operation Valkyrie. Operation Valkyrie was the closest thing to actually killing Hitler and ending the war early. Valkyrie was the closest to that. Because what people don't know about Operation Valkyrie is Operation Valkyrie wasn't just a plot to kill Hitler. It was also a plan on how to take over the government. So like the plotters had actually set up a new government, and they were planning on negotiating with the Allies. So it wasn't just they were going to assassinate Hitler and be done with it. They actually had like plans for a new government and, you know, what they were going to do and everything like that. So I would say Valkyrie was like the closest thing that, you know, that was to ending the war early. The lore video is going to be a Mafia lore video coming out this week. It's going to be a really good one. And I'm also going to have another Mafia lore that's going to be a short coming out this week. I'll eventually get to all of them, Austin. I just don't know when, but I'll get to them. Do you think Ernst Röhm could have taken out Hitler with the essay instead of the other way around? Hitler was the extremely popular one in Germany at the time. Even if Röhm had taken Hitler out, he would have never been able to take power. And Rom was also a scumbag. It was Rom was a pretty bad person. So it was a power struggle between him and Hitler. That's ultimately what it was about. But Dabby, you told me earlier that you watched Take History. What did Take History say Hitler's religious views were? I might have missed your comment, but I'm curious what he said, because I've watched a lot of Take History's videos before, but some of them I agree with, some of his videos I agree with, some of them I don't necessarily always agree with. But yeah, there's all of these like ridiculous like theories people put together where they say like, oh, Hitler was a Christian or Hitler was an atheist, but in reality Hitler was not Hitler was not an atheist or a Christian. He actually hated both. What's my next playthrough? Mafia 2. We just uploaded a part earlier today, and we're also gonna upload Metal Gear Solid Delta later this week. I think the government should release that, Bubba.
Fucking bullshit.
I live in the UK and it's crazy here. Pretty much a civil war and no free speech. Can you do a lore video, reacting to some UK stuff? I did already, but maybe I could do it in the future. But I did actually go on my channel Mysterious, because I uploaded a video a couple days ago, and I basically talked about how the Online Safety Act will affect GTA 6. And in that video, I actually talked about that exact topic. I didn't just talk about the Online Safety Act. I talked about how like the police in Britain come to your house and arrest you for tweets. I did actually talk about that in the video. What was Stalin's biggest crime against humanity? Stalin's biggest crime against humanity? There's a lot of them. If I had to name the worst thing Stalin did, it would be one of two things. It would either be the Holodomor, which the Holodomor, he starved millions of people in the Holodomor, like millions of people died during that. Or the second thing would have been the Gulag system. Stalin had built thousands of gulags where millions of people, were basically worked to death in slave labor conditions. So, Stalin was just, one of the worst people ever on this planet. Send me an invite to the business. About Woodrow Wilson, why did Congress not impeach Woodrow Wilson over this? Was Congress totally Democrat-controlled and pro-Wilson? Or were Congress too scared to impeach? Mostly Congress was pro-Wilson at the time when he was president. The thing about Wilson is that Wilson is... we have like a joke in America, and the joke is Wilson was the president of Europe, not the president of America. That's the joke that we have about Wilson, because Wilson was a pretty popular president in Europe. Like, Europeans generally liked him, but Americans just absolutely despise Wilson. Like, they hate Wilson. Like, I don't know one American who thinks that Wilson was, like, a good president. Like, it was, he's just generally despised in America. The reason Europeans like him is because of his involvement in World War I. That was pretty much the reason. But he was, he's absolutely hated. But when I see, like, Europeans say, oh, Wilson was, like, a great president, they probably don't know about the fact that Wilson was, like, a massive racist and had shown movies of the Ku Klux Klan in the White House. So, Wilson is one of the worst American presidents in history. If I made, like, a list top 10 worst American presidents, Wilson would definitely be on that list. Did you know that the Ottomans also did genocide on minorities? Yes, you're probably talking about the Armenian genocide, aren't you? They killed between 1 million to 2 million Armenians. And the really crazy thing about that is that modern-day Turkey denies the Armenian genocide. They say that it never happened. Have you heard of Livonians, Pro? Isn't that like a region in Poland? It's in Eastern Europe, I'm pretty sure, right? Erdogan is neo-Ottoman racist. I'm not surprised. Yeah, and Erdogan really hates he really hates Armenians. There was actually he also hates the Kurds as well. There was a Kurdish mayor that got elected in a Turkish town, and Erdogan had him arrested. The Old Country lore video will be up later this week, Falcon. I'm gonna make a post about it after the stream. I'm sorry, it's just the lore video just turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was, but I have most of it done. But just give me a couple more days and I'll perfect it and I'll make it really good. I'm also gonna be using a few movie scenes as well. Wait, what is Manny doing, Francisco? Neither, Brian. Which GTA San Andreas do you hate? A character do I hate? The character I hate the most? Probably Tenpenny or Pulaski. I also hate Jizzy. Yeah, Jizzy, I really don't like him too. The worst, what was the worst communist regime in Africa? It'd have to be Ethiopia or Somalia. Well, they'd that probably wouldn't go anywhere, Zach. I just always save as much of my money as I can, Mista. I don't like spending money. Pro, in the Hide from Henry mission, when you save Leo, are you going to do all the cutscenes in it? You can reload from checkpoint photo. Yes, I will. I'll do all of them. I will show all of the cutscenes. Well, I understand Sweet's perspective to a degree, but his mentality about never leaving the hood is, like, ridiculous. I don't think so, Mysterious, but I think that, you know, you speak English, so I think, like, I don't know how the whole immigration process works, but I just know that if you speak English, I know that does help. But yeah, I don't know much more than that. Why aren't the Japanese more open to admit that they're axed during World War II? It's very odd to me that they're allowed to pretend it didn't happen. The thing about that is the reason. Somalia was not communist pro-Soviets betrayed them. Well, I would argue Somalia was still a communist country. It was a very much a Marxist country. And, they invaded Ethiopia, and then the U.S. started supporting Somalia, and then the Soviets were supporting Ethiopia. But, what I was going to say is, if you look at all the countries in the world that deny genocide, like all the countries that deny, bad things, like their bad history, they almost all deny it for the exact same reason. Almost all the exact same reason. And you know what? It's two reasons. And you know what the two main reasons that countries deny their horrible atrocities? It's shame and pride. Those are the two main reasons. It's shame and pride. It's that people are so proud of their country that they cannot believe that their country at one point would have committed such horrible atrocities. And then the other thing is shame, because they would be absolutely ashamed to admit that their country had done such horrible things, and so they cannot admit to something like that, and so they will make up all of these denials, and they'll lie about all this stuff. Like, it's, for example, like Turkey denies the Ottoman genocide, and the reason that, the Armenian genocide. Turkey denies the Armenian genocide, but the reason that they deny that is because it makes Turkey look bad in their eyes. It makes they're so proud of their Ottoman history. Like the Turkish education system, like, it prides itself on this neo-Ottoman view where, like, the Ottomans are just portrayed as this great time in, like, Turkey's history, and, like, teaching about something like the Armenian genocide that goes completely against their view. And so that's why they basically come up with these conspiracies that it never happened, it's not real. What is it? There's other countries that I can think of also, like, for example, Russia. Russia denies the Holodomor. They claim that it wasn't a genocide. They downplay it exactly how much of it happened. Also, Ukraine, which is right next to Russia, Ukraine denies the Volyn genocide. And that was during World War II, where Ukrainian ultra-nationalists had mass murdered hundreds of thousands of Polish people. So the modern-day Ukrainian government denies that today. A lot of people don't know that. And they actually have statues dedicated to the people who committed those atrocities. In Japan is one that we know about too. Japan, they deny a lot of their history. They don't want to admit that they did bad things in their history. I'm trying to think of other countries that denied their atrocities. Germany's probably one of the few countries that has actually openly admitted to the atrocities that they've committed, but a lot of other countries in the world deny the horrible things that they've done. And also even my country, America, the United States. In my country, in the United States, there are people who there are people who, like, do the exact same thing, but it's mostly due to the Civil War. Like, there's neo-Confederate people in, like, America where they will basically say, oh, the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery, and they'll say, oh, it was all about states' rights, and a lot of BS like this, when the whole war was fought over slavery. The Confederate Constitution even says that the reason they were seceding was because of slavery. I don't know how they can argue that it had nothing to do with slavery, but there are people that do, even stuff like that in America too. Pro, how come you talk about every single country except Israel? I'll talk about, like, Israel and Palestine and stuff like that too, but the reason that I tend to avoid that subject, and I don't even want to talk about the Ukraine-Russia war, I tend to avoid that subject too, it's because when it comes to, that conflict, I'm on the side of peace. That's it. I don't want, violence. I don't want people killing each other, and I just want the war, to end, the violence to stop. And I'm, when it comes to Israel-Palestine thing, I'm completely neutral on that. I'm not on any side in that conflict. I want them to both to stop, and I want the violence and the killing to stop. But the thing is, though, is that no matter what I say, I'm gonna get a bunch of people pissed off. Like, people just get really angry at me for some reason on that. So it's like, that topic, I know that people get extremely sensitive about that topic, and even though I'm completely neutral in that topic, like, I don't support Israel, I don't support Palestine, and I don't support sending money to Israel, and I don't support sending money to Palestine. I don't support either country, sending money to either country. So it's like, but people will, people say, they get pissed off at me if I don't support this side, and they get pissed off at me if I don't support this side. So largely I don't talk about it is because people just get so upset for some reason. I don't know why, but that's why I just try to stay away from that topic because of how controversial it is, and, people keep, bringing it up, and they want me to take sides in it, but I don't really have a side in it. I don't really have a viewpoint in it. The Spanish Empire committed the Taino genocide. That was against the native peoples, right? In the Americas, but Spanish Empire did some pretty horrible, gruesome things. Portuguese also did some really nasty things. Too scared to take a position? No, I'm not too scared to take a position. I've told you my position. My position is I'm neutral in this conflict. And any one of my friends that I talk to can tell you that my viewpoint is the exact same, as I do not support either side. I am completely neutral in that. It's possible not to take a side. You do realize that. It's like, it's people can be neutral in conflicts. They could not take a side. It's possible. And also, I don't even know why I should be taking a side. That's the thing about that. I don't know why I have to. I don't get it. Hey Pro, love these weekly GT Online streams. Did you ever complete the Criminal Mastermind Challenge? Me and my crew just completed it. Yeah, I completed it for Doomsday, and I completed it for the original Heist, but it can get really annoying. It can get really annoying, Colin, those Criminal Mastermind challenges. And the worst is when it glitches out on you. When it glitches out on you, it can get really bad. I sympathize with the people suffering. I do as well. I agree with you on that. You know, I don't want any violence, any killing, anything like that. But people want me to take a side in that war. I don't support either side. I just don't want the violence and the killing to keep going. I just want it to end. There's bad people on both sides in that conflict, by the way, in the Israel-Palestine conflict. So it's possible to basically, you know, can be completely neutral in this and just say that you want the violence and the killing to end. So I don't know why people think that it's that you have to take a side. But I'm just done talking about that because people get so mad whenever I bring. That's why I tend to avoid that topic, because people get you know, so upset and they spam over that. Your Metal Gear Solid 2 playthrough was a fun watch. You done great. I love your random history lesson playthroughs. The history behind the Sons of Liberty flag was awesome. You're a walking encyclopedia. Thank you, Radiance Wake. Thanks, man. Yeah, and I would say that Solid as Snake has been my favorite Metal Gear Solid villain out of all of them. I liked him way more than Liquid. Like, Liquid was just, you know, a scumbag in the first game, but I somewhat sympathized with Solidus to a degree also, so I understood his perspective to a degree. At least he was more sympathetic in his views, but where Liquid was just, you know, a scumbag. Okay, here we go. Drop this off here. Would you say that you're an isolationist? The U.S. should just stay out of things that don't affect us? No, because people people really don't understand what the word isolationist is. They don't really understand what that word means. And the reason I say that is because, like, if you are like an American, for example, right? And you say, for example, I think that the United States should not be getting involved in a lot of these conflicts. If you say stuff like that, people will say, oh, you're an isolationist. You have isolationist views. But that is not isolationist whatsoever. There is only one isolationist country on this planet. Only one actually exists. Does anybody know what country that is? It's only one on this planet. There's only one country that is a completely isolationist country. It's North Korea, exactly. What isolationism basically means is what the name of it is. You completely isolate yourself from the rest of the world. You do not interact at all whatsoever with the rest of the world. That's basically what an isolationist is. You don't talk to other countries, you don't interact with other countries, you don't trade with other countries, you don't even acknowledge other countries. That's what North Korea is. North Korea does not barely interact with any country. They don't talk to really any country except China and Russia. And they really don't do trade with any country either. So, like, that's what I'll say about it, is that North Korea is an isolationist country. The correct term is non-interventionist. That's the correct term. There's a difference between non-interventionism and isolationism. Isolationism is not getting involved in anything whatsoever. Non-interventionism means that you are willing to engage in diplomacy, you're willing to talk to other countries, you are willing to trade with other countries, you want to keep good relations with other countries, but non-interventionism just basically means that you are not going to get involved in other countries' affairs. So when it comes to something going on in another country, You're just not going to get involved in that country's affairs. That's ultimately what non-interventionism is. And honestly, if America preached that, if America had done way more of that, been a non-interventionist country, because I can understand why America was an interventionist country. I understand, because there was like the Cold War going on, and it was necessary at a point, because if America did not intervene during the Cold War, the Soviet Union would have conquered the whole world. They would have spread communism everywhere, and they would have basically colonized most of the planet. And most of the planet would have been under Soviet rule. So I would agree that interventionism was necessary to a degree during the Cold War, but Soviet Union collapsed, it's gone. And so there was really no need for this mass interventionism after the Cold War. I think that if America had followed that policy of non-interventionism, I think that America could have avoided a lot of bad things, like Iraq, Libya, Syria. They could have avoided getting involved in a lot of this, dumb stuff. Is Eritrea an isolationist country? It's kind of close to it. Eritrea is a brutal military dictatorship. It's constantly called the North Korea of Africa. It's very similar. Eritrea is more open to trade than North Korea, though. Like, Eritrea has a more freer economy and does interact with more countries than North Korea, but I wouldn't say it's a, I would say, yeah, it is kind of closer to North Korea. How is a dictatorship going to collapse without America's help? Any better solution? I can actually give you an example. Sometimes putting sanctions on a dictatorship actually makes the situation worse, and it backfires. Sometimes intervening makes the situation actually worse than what it is. Sometimes it's better not to intervene at all. Just because sometimes when you get involved, bad things will happen. But here's what basically has happened. I'll give you a perfect example. Cuba. Cuba is a perfect example of sanctions and the embargo. Now, when it comes to Cuba, people in Cuba have had food shortages for decades. They have not been able to buy food at the supermarket, rapidly. I wouldn't say it's to the point where people are like starving on the streets, but there have been, mass food shortages in Cuba. People live in absolute poverty in Cuba, and what happens is Cuba's electrical system is failing. Like their turbines are just going up, and their power grid is just completely failing. But here's the thing about this, is like literally 95% of Cuba's problems have nothing whatsoever to do with America. Like nothing. Like the majority of their problems are their own doing. It is literally Cuba's corrupt communist government that's causing the food shortages. The lack of a free market system is one of the huge reasons that this is happening. And also, think about this. How does Cuba's electrical system failing have anything to do with U.S. sanctions? It has nothing to do with American sanctions. That is your electrical systems. You built those. So Cuba's electrical systems failing has nothing to do with American sanctions. It's their own, fault. However, though, when the electrical grid fails in Cuba, when people can't get food at the supermarket in Cuba, do you know what happens? What the Cuban government does? The Cuban government basically says the exact same thing every single time. They say, oh, it's the Americans' fault. The reason that you can't buy food, the reason the power is falling, it's the embargo. The Americans are to blame. Every single time they'll say, oh, it's the Americans' fault, the imperialist Americans, blah, 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 this. They'll spread this propaganda around constantly over and over and over again. And so the point that I'm getting at to you is that sanctions sometimes strengthen dictatorships. Because sanctions, what they do is sanctions hurt the people in the country, but do nothing to stop the dictatorship. Because then what's going to happen is the dictator is basically going to use those sanctions as propaganda, and it's going to say, oh, the reason you don't have food, the reason that you're hungry, and the reason that, everything is going bad is because of the Americans. It's not because I'm a crappy leader and my government is crap, it's because of the Americans. So that's basically why I don't support sanctions, because I generally think that dictators, what they will do is they'll basically take the sanctions and they will basically use that as propaganda against the U.S. The U.S. is hoping that with sanctions that the people in those countries will overthrow them, but that almost never works. It almost never happens. And on top of that, even when you have a dictatorship, overthrowing a dictatorship a lot of times can cause massive problems, because take a look at, there are 3 countries that I can name you at the top of my head: Libya, Syria, and Iraq. And all 3 countries, Libya, Syria, and Iraq, had brutal dictatorships. And guess what? The U.S. helped overthrow the Libyan dictator, the Syrian dictator, and the Iraqi dictator. And what happened? Those 3 countries today are absolute disasters. Syria is an absolute disaster. Libya is an absolute disaster. Iraq is at least a little bit more stable, but it was still a disaster for a very long time. So And Libya is such a disaster that it's even like two governments. There are two presidents in Libya, two presidents, like, and they're still in a civil war. And it's been over 10 years since Gaddafi had been assassinated, and they're still in the middle of a civil war. And so sometimes getting involved in other countries' affairs can sometimes be a disaster, because what happens is there's a brutal dictator. You take out the brutal dictator, and what happens when you take out the brutal dictator? It basically creates this power vacuum. There's this giant power vacuum, and then one person says, I'm in charge, and the other person says, no, I'm in charge, and then everybody starts fighting each other and killing each other over it. And that's basically what's happened, is that it is just disaster after disaster after disaster. So it's like, just because there's a dictator in the world does not mean it's necessarily our job to go and overthrow him. And even if we do overthrow him, we better have like a plan, at least, on how to deal with it. Because the problem is just overthrowing these governments and then not having a plan, and then the governments basically just fall to full chaos and just, collapse. What's the solution then? There is no solution. Sometimes it's the best solution is not to get involved in these situations. Because think about it, is that let's say that there's a dictator in a country, right? And you say this dictator should go. This dictator should be, overthrown. And the dictator gets overthrown with the support of America, right? And then a new dictator comes to power. And that new dictator is even 2 times worse than the previous dictator and starts killing more people. Whose fault is it at that point? The America has basically made the situation worse. You can make an argument like that. I'm not hating on America or anything like that. I'm just saying that sometimes getting involved in these countries' affairs is just really stupid. And it just basically just creates way more bad situations in the world. And so it's not selfish. It's not selfish to say, I don't think we should get involved in these situations. Like, it's not selfish to say, I don't think that this is, our responsibility. It's not selfish to say, we shouldn't be getting involved in these countries. Innocent people in a dictatorship are dying and suffering. Sure, and I acknowledge that 100%. But what do you do about that? Because if we were to get rid of every single dictatorship in the world, do you know how many countries we would have to invade? We probably would have to invade at least a third of the countries in the world. A third of them. Like, literally, like, a third of the planet are almost all dictatorships. People don't know that. Like, they're either dictatorships or authoritarian governments. There are so many dictatorships in the world. And, like, Africa, for example, Africa added, like, 5 new dictatorships to the list just, like, last year because of all their coups. So, that's what people don't know, is that is it really our job to play world police everywhere? That's what I'll basically say about it. I'm looking forward to the Metal Gear Solid 3 playthrough. You're gonna absolutely love it. One of the best games and stories of all time. Get the tissues ready, Pro. It's a real tearjerker. Metal Gear Solid 3 breaks people. Thank you, Raiden's I'll have a lot of fun playing it, yeah. Let's see here, what would you do if you were a person in one of those countries? Isn't it a little easy to say from your perspective, no hate? Sure, maybe, but I'm not living under a brutal dictatorship. Maybe if I lived in one of those countries, I would want, like, another country to intervene and do something about that. But at the same time it's not selfish to basically say, why are we responsible for all these countries? Why should we be getting involved in all of these countries' affairs? And the thing about this is, when you look at it too, is there are so many countries around those countries that are dictatorships, and they do nothing whatsoever about it. And instead they expect, like, the United States, for example, to do it, to take care of it for them. They expect the United States to be the ones to deal with the dictatorship. So, like, there are other countries that are, like, right next to dictatorships, right next door, and they do absolutely nothing whatsoever. And if anything, if you're going to make the argument that, other countries need to intervene to stop dictatorships, then you would have to argue that the countries that are nearby have the biggest responsibility to deal with that. And America right now does not have any dictatorships right next door to it. The closest is Cuba. But at least Cuba does not have a border with the United States. And you can make the argument that Mexico is a very corrupt country, but it's not like a full-on dictatorship. But there are other places in the world where there are brutal dictatorships, but the countries that are around them do absolutely nothing about it. And instead they look to America to be the ones to do something about it. And what people don't know, for example, is there are countries out there that take advantage of the United States. Like, I'll give you an example of one country, like Costa Rica. Like, Costa Rica is a fairly rich country, and Costa Rica has no military. People don't know that. They have a police force, but they have no military. None. They don't have a military. The reason that Costa Rica doesn't have a military is because Central America has had a history of like military coups and military dictatorships. And what basically happened was Costa Rica was sick of the coups, and one day they just decided, you know what, let's abolish the military so we don't have any more coups. And for the most part, it's worked for them. They built casinos, they invested in casinos, and they invested in hotels, and they invested back into their country. And that's why Costa Rica, for example, is like one of the richer countries in like Central America. However, though, there is one problem. The one problem is that Costa Rica has a border with Nicaragua. Nicaragua is a socialist dictatorship, and it's run by Daniel Ortega, who's been in power for decades, basically, a hereditary dictatorship at this point. Now, Nicaragua is a way poorer country than Costa Rica. But the thing about Nicaragua is Nicaragua has a very strong military compared to Costa Rica. If Nicaragua wanted to, they could conquer Costa Rica within a couple weeks. They could, if they wanted to. And Nicaragua has made land claims to Costa Rica. They basically said, oh, this part of Costa Rica is ours, rightfully, and give it to us. And Costa Rica has resisted that. But do you know what Costa Rica's entire plan for defending their country is? Their entire plan for defending their country is to rely on the United States. That's what their entire plan is. Their entire plan is that we don't have a military, so America will protect us. That is basically there. So they don't have to pay for a military. They don't have to deal with a military. They don't have a budget for a military. Instead, they rely on America primarily to protect them in case Nicaragua attacks. And Nicaragua won't attack because they know that America will get involved. If Nicaragua does invade Costa Rica, America will respond. So that's the primary reason. But at the same time, is that really nice of Costa Rica to do something like that? Is that nice of them to do that? Because, like, you know, Costa Rica is basically saying, oh, you know, America has to protect us. It's America's job and stuff like that. But, you know, when did it become our job necessarily? So that's what I'll say about it. It's not about being selfish. It's about just looking at the world through, like, a different viewpoint, and that you don't always have to get involved in every country's affairs and stuff. There's like, a lot of countries that do stuff like this. They have said that publicly. Well, yeah. Who, Costa Rica or Nicaragua? Yeah, and that's basically that's the thing about America, is being America is basically a double-edged sword. That's what it ultimately is. If America gets involved and gets rid of a brutal dictatorship, then they're called imperialist. But if America does not get involved and does not get rid of a brutal dictatorship, then they're called selfish. So it's no matter what you do. If you intervene, you get people complain to you. If you don't intervene, people complain to you. So that's basically is my perspective on it. No, Costa Rica, as far as I know, I don't think Costa Rica even pays America anything. But their entire plan is to rely on another country to protect them. That's what their entire plan is. So that's basically what I say. And when you really think about it, is that nice of Costa Rica to do something like that? Like, I mean, sure, it's worked for their country, and they've made a lot of money in their country, and they have a better standard of living. But is it really nice to, you know, rely on another country for your entire protection and say, oh, you know, the Americans will protect us? So can't Costa Rica invest in a self-defense force, at least like post-war Japan? Not really. They've invested all their money in their casinos and their hotels. All their money basically goes to their country's infrastructure, or it goes to their hotels and resorts and all the other stuff that they've invested in. Sometimes, look, so in rare cases, interventionism can be a good thing in rare cases, and it can work. You know, like the most successful case of interventionism that I can think of in history is World War II. Like World War II, we needed to get involved in that. You know, you had, you know, Nazi Germany that was trying to conquer all of Europe, and, you know, Imperial Japan was trying to conquer Asia, and they were committing genocide. We had to get involved. You know, there was these really bad people. It was only a matter of time before it was going to come to us. But then there's other situations, like, for example, like the Iraq War. Like, did we really need to get involved in something like that? No. So you look at stuff like that and you think, like, you gotta look at the things. And, like, Korea was, like, a perfect example of interventionism. Korea did work. You know, we saved South Korea. You know, North Korea was, like, had conquered 95% of South Korea. There was, like, this tiny little piece left that hadn't been conquered, and we helped push the North Koreans out of South Korea. So in that case, interventionism did succeed. But in other cases, it's been a disaster. Do you think France is really scummy for getting involved in affairs of West African countries and other former French colonies in Africa? Oh yeah, yeah. And there's that island. There's that island that's in Asia. I forget the name of the island. Maybe somebody in the comments will know. But it's like part of France. It's an Asian island that's part of France. And France had like this deal with that country for some time. It's part of France technically, but it's like a modern day colony. and France had some kind of deal where like French people could live in that country, but they couldn't vote. So like French citizens could not vote. And what happened was the French changed the rules recently, where the French can now vote, and now the French are outnumbering like the native peoples in that island, and the French can basically just put in any kind of government they want there right now. I gotta look up what the name of this island is again, but that was New Caledonia. Yes, that's it. That's the island that I'm thinking of. And you know what the most ironic thing about that? The most ironic thing about that is the French government constantly accuses the U.S. of being imperialist. That's what's so ironic about that. And yet they have like stuff like that. Like they constantly interfere in African countries' affairs, and yet they even have colonies still to this day. So I don't think a country like France that has colonies can accuse a country like America of being imperialist. I love your stories. Keep it up. Well, thank you. The Korean War was really horrible. The Korean War was very brutal. It was Korean War was one of the largest wars in the 20th century, but a lot of times it's forgotten because of the Vietnam War. What if Hitler conquered Europe? If Hitler conquered Europe, it would have been extremely bad. There would have been entire peoples that would have been eliminated. I probably would not be alive today if Hitler had conquered Europe. Thank you, Pro, for your first episode of Mafia 2. No problem, dude. If someone's tried to steal your home and said this one is promised to him several years ago, what are you talking about? I hate Hitler, but communists persecuted the Tatars, your people. Yeah, they did, but the Nazis were also really horrible. And the Nazis did not necessarily like Tatars as well. Like they didn't like them too. They thought that Tatars were inferior to them. It was the Soviets who removed the Tatars from Crimea. Mount Etna, that's in Sicily. Okay, once I deliver this, I'm gonna help somebody with a heist here, because I'm gonna have to get off probably in like half an hour, but I'll help people with a heist here. Who needed it? It was Raccoon and Brandon, right? Raccoon and Brandon. Brandon and Raccoon. Are any of you guys ready with the heist? Brandon, if you have your heist ready, just leave this MC after this and invite me, and I'll help you. I'll see you, Mikey. Take care, dude. Take care, man. Best YouTuber. Thank you, dude. What city did Mafia the Old Country take place in? It would have been San Celeste, but I don't know if San Celeste is even a real place in Sicily. I have to look that up. But there was one mission that took place in Palermo, which is the capital of Sicily. Did you ever hear that Mao Zedong never brushed his teeth? No, that's the first time I'm hearing about that. Can you tell me what your PSN is, Marcus, and I will add you later. If you can tell me what your PSN is.
That's a successful...
Marcus the Realist 4. Okay. Skull, I'm gonna have to leave because I promised Brandon that I'd help him with his heist. If you guys could still step, whoever's in the MC, if you could please stay here and just keep helping, Skull. Let me... here, Thoughts on the Philippine-American War? The Philippine-American War was wrong, and it really should not have happened. It was really wrong for the U.S. to intervene in their affairs. I don't know on that, Hakeem. I just hope that the economy doesn't, go in the dumpster. That's the only thing I can at least hope for. Brandon or Raccoon, can one of you guys invite me? Thoughts on GTA 4, my favorite GTA game, Pirate. Beautiful game with GTA 4. Do you know the day World War II ended was also when Vietnam declared independence? Yes, September, I think it was September 2nd, 1945, right? Is that the day? Did I get the day right? Pro, did you know that a lot of Vietnamese hate Deng Xiaoping because he ordered the invasion of the northeastern provinces of Vietnam back in 1979? Yeah, that was when China was supporting the Khmer Rouge, and they were getting pissed off at Vietnam for invading Cambodia, and they invaded. But Vietnam was kind of justified to attack Cambodia in that conflict. The Cambodians were really the ones who started it. Hey, Pro, if you finished playing Mafia 2, will you think about playing Mafia 3? I'm not just going to think about playing Mafia 3. I'm going to play Mafia 3. It'll be right after Mafia 2. Yes. Brandon, if it's gold, let's just do it me and you if it's gold. Okay? Will I ever do an in real life stream? I don't know. You mean like walking around in real life? My phone? I don't know. Maybe. I feel like most people in their 20s don't own anything. That's true. Stay away from the two worst things for young people are car loans and student loans, and also I would say mortgages too. I don't know why there's this obsession that when you turn 18 you have to move out of your parents' house. No, you don't have to. Most of the time parents don't want their kids to leave. They want you to stay most of the time. If you do stay with your parents, make sure you help them, like, pay the bills and stuff like that, do groceries, with your parents too. But living with your parents, even if you pay for groceries and you pay for bills, you're saving a lot more than paying for rent or getting a mortgage for a home. And, that at least will let you build wealth when you're young, doing stuff like that. Stay away from student loans as well. Don't do student loans, and don't, stay away from student loans, and do not do car payments. Don't do that. Do not do car payments. What I'm going to say right now is not really popular with a lot of young people, but what I'll say about this is the best advice that I can give to really young people is don't buy a new car when you're young. When you're young, buy a junk car. Like, don't buy a car that's necessarily going to fall apart. Don't buy a car like that. But buy a car that's, like, a decade old or something like that. Make sure the car's safe, obviously. But, like, buy a car that, like, you're going to drive around for a few years and then get rid of it. Because that'll help you save so much money than buying, like, a new car. Well, like, young people, they always, like, I need to buy a new car. I need to buy a new car. And it's just, ugh. I never bought a new car in my life. Oh, Arthur, you'll never change. I know that. Yes, I remember Arthur's former lover, she says that to him. Thank you, Sweet Pumpkin, for the super chat. Yeah, and I will tell you, the people that, the people that make fun of you for, like, living with your family, you're not in debt. So, that's what I'll say about that. Don't worry about that. Brandon, can you invite me, please? Waiting for the invite. If I could pick any historical setting for an Assassin's Creed game, what do I pick? The Russian Revolution. I know they did that, like, 2D side-scroller game in it, but I would like an actual game during it. Maybe you could buy a car that's 4 or 5 years old, but don't buy something that you're going to spend a fortune on. Oh, did he? Raccoon? Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Where's my friend? Invite here. Brandon, can you send me another invite, please? Go in depth about your mom. My mom was, my mom grew up in, my mom grew up in a, my mom grew up in a better, like, household than, like, for example, my dad. Like, my dad grew up in a, my dad grew up in more poverty. I wouldn't say he grew up necessarily in, like, a village, but he grew up in, like, a small town. My mom grew up in a city. My mom, my mom had a little bit of a better life. You know, she went to college. She ended up becoming a teacher in Poland. My father had worked in the factory, and then he started doing, like, construction planning for, like, a factory. Oh, my mom today is, she's a cleaner in Manhattan, and my dad is my dad is retired. Was World War I the dumbest war in your opinion? Yes. You give great advice, bro. Yeah, here in Portugal, most of us are still living with our parents in our 20s, but it's due to bad reasons, unfortunately, bad economy. I know about that. I know that Portugal's economy is not too well. I hope that it goes well for you, though. I hope that your economy recovers. Your father's a really good man, despite the environment he grew up in. Yeah, my dad, my dad, my dad's dad, my grandpa, he wasn't around when my dad was a kid, and my dad had to actually take care of his two younger brothers, so my dad had to basically provide for them. It wasn't easy, and on top of that, my dad grew up in a communist country, which that was just even harder on him too. My dad actually waiting for Brandon to spawn in here. My dad, about him is when he had to provide for his two other brothers. My dad had to sometimes sell sell vegetables that he grew, and that was a lot of times that was actually considered illegal because it was considered illegal to actually make a profit. Brandon stuck, yeah. Thank you, son of a pirate. I think Brandon's stuck in that black screen here. Oh, where's Brand? Wait, what's going on with Brandon now? The underground glitch. Brandon, just start up a new heist and invite me again. Oh, what does it say, Gunner? Oh, Brandon's here. Never mind. Get in. Okay. You got a job today at a pump station? I wish you luck, Hey Gavinator. I hope everything goes well for you. Why does your dad hate video games? It was just, I guess it was just never for him. He never liked it. My dad has, my dad has really never watched any of my YouTube videos. The only YouTube videos that my dad has actually watched on my channel is he's watched the videos with, the real life videos that I did, like visiting North Dakota and, like, visiting, like parts of New York City. He does like videos like that, but he doesn't like anything video game related. Yes, he did, Chaz. My dad told me that I should have done more research before I chose that hotel. Do you have siblings? I have a half-brother and a half-sister. Relationship is very bad, though. Very, very bad. Okay, Brandon, come on. Oh, crap. I didn't see this guy. Crap. Swipe. Swipe. Crap. Crap. Okay. Swipe. Ah. Ooh, yeah, that didn't go well. How is your relationship with your half-siblings bad? The backstory behind my relationship with my half-siblings is that, my father had my father's first marriage with his first wife. That's where my half brother and my half sister are from. My dad's first wife, she was abusive, very controlling, and my dad basically just divorced her. He could not, did not want to be with her anymore, and he had, my half brother and my half sister with him, his two kids, and my dad supported them. He still, like, sent them money, helped them out, but he just did not want to be with his, wife at that point. And then later on, he met my mom, and he ended up marrying her. And what happened is my half-brother and my half-sister, they basically have this ridiculous delusion in their head that, my mom was, like, the whole reason for, like, the divorce, and that, but the thing is, though, is that he did not know my mom until he actually separated with her. And it was her, their mom's, like, abusive behavior which actually caused the divorce to happen in the first place. And they basically think that, like, they basically have this idea in their heads that, like, I'm part of it and I'm part of the reason that it happened, and they blame me for, even though I wasn't even alive at that time. So that's basically it, is just they basically blame me for existing. They don't think I should exist, and that's ultimately it. The thing is, I actually used to be closer to them when I was younger. When I was younger and I was a kid, I did talk to them, engage with them. But I realized over time they were constantly excluding me from stuff. They constantly treated me like a second-class person, and eventually over time, I got pissed off at that, and I said, you know what, F this. I don't want anything to do with these people. So that was it. Yeah, basically not being treated like an actual brother, and, like, I basically just said, you know what, screw these people. So they're not my brother, they're not my sister. That's basically what I say about it. Brandon, I'm getting everything on the left. Can't wait for a GTA 6. We finally get to see what Fernando's been playing all these years. Yep. I'm surprised he hasn't uploaded a playthrough yet. Thank you, Anmar, for the super chat. I missed another super chat. Let me look. I'm sorry. What's your favorite girlfriend in GTA San Andreas? Mine is Denise and Helena, especially Helena. She sounds so sweet and cute. Michelle is cool too, very laid back. I would say, yeah, probably Helena is probably the one I like the most. I thought that, yeah, I thought that Millie was crazy. I feel that completely, pro. The reason, I haven't been too active in the streams or added you on PlayStation is because I've been zoning out living with a toxic brother who ruins my life every day. Yeah. I will just say to you is, I don't know how bad the situation is, Ravenswig, like for you. I don't know how bad it is. But the only thing I'll say about that is if you can, if oh crap, hang on, I gotta, what did I do? I thought I had another charge. Damn, I'm stupid right now. I thought I had one more charge. No, I'm getting out of this. I'm not hacking this. I'm not gonna get those. I'm sorry, Brandon. I can't get those two in there. I'm gonna get D though. D I'll get. The only thing I'll tell you, Ravenswig, is if you have a relationship with your brother, right? Like, if you can fix it, like, even if your brother is the one at fault, like, you know, it's, at least see if, like, you can at least keep a good relationship. But if it's, like, unfixable at that point, then, you know, it might be best just to basically cut contact. For me, it was a bit easier because they were my half-brother and my half-sister. I didn't, you know, completely grow up with them. But, you know, being treated like, you know, garbage, you know, so long, I basically, at that point, I basically said, you know what, F this. Okay, swipe, Brandon.
You'll need to sync your keycard swipes on the way out, too.
I sadly think it's unfixable. He resorted to the stage of telling horrible lies, constantly rewriting his entire childhood to make him out be a good guy when the whole family knows what he's done. Then, yeah, then maybe it's best at that point to cut contact. Yeah, and I'm considering doing, like, a video, like, top 5 worst things that Teresi did. I've never really been much into the Transformers movie. Have you ever wanted a younger sibling? It's not that I wanted a younger sibling. It's that I wanted to basically be treated like a sibling by because my half brother and my half sister, they're much older than me, and I wanted to be treated like a sibling, but they never saw me as one, and so that was at that point I basically said, you know what, F this. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, we shouldn't be going out this way. I forget. I'm just getting caught up too much here. Rooftop is better to do if you're doing aggressive. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. How old would your half-siblings be? My half-siblings are in their 40s right now. Can you tell a story of the guy that honked at you and your dad? Also, I like your history commentary. You can do more of it. Thank you, P-Line, King. I I think you're talking about the one where my mom's car broke down. Is that the story that you're talking about? The guy honking at me while my mom's car broke down. Is that the one?
Weapons on the ground now! We have you surrounded!
Getaway cars, go! The driver has them in position.
This sucks.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Where you gonna go now?
Okay, come on. Okay, so, what it was, what Feline King is talking about is that a couple years ago, what basically happened was, I was visiting my parents in New York, and I live in the Midwest now, but I visit my family a lot. I'm actually visiting my family right now, but I'm going back next week. So there's times where I visit my family for, like, 1 or 2 months. I'll just stay, in their home, and I work on my gaming laptop. But, what ended up happening is, my mom had called me, and it was, like, maybe 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, and my mom works, late. She's a cleaner in Manhattan, and she cleans offices for, like, CEOs. But anyways, what happened is her car broke down, and her car broke down in, like, Queens. Now, my mom asked me if I could go and pick her up. So I went to pick her up. I was not asleep at that time, so I, drove over, was gonna, come and get her and see if we could fix the car. I don't know anything about cars. My dad ended up waking up and coming with me, because my dad knows a little bit about cars, a little more than me. But we went there, and what happened was, my mom had, her car had basically stalled, and my mom tried to get her car on the right side as much as she could, and she turned on the hazard lights, where all the lights are, like, blinking yellow, and what ended up happening is, when my dad got his jumper cables out, and he took his car, and he was trying to get my mom's car started. But what happened during that was I went down the street at the corner, because this was like a one-way street, and what I did was I would signal cars not to go down this road. So, like, if cars tried to turn into that road, I would basically be like, don't come down here, because we got a car that's stalled in the middle of the road. Now, most cars listened to me, but what happened was there was this van that pushed past me and completely ignored me waving, and what the van did was the van then got up right behind my mom and just constantly kept honking, like, over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my god. And the guy just kept honking and honking. Well, my mom's traffic lights were on. Like my dad's car was wired up with those jumper cables, trying to help my dad's car start up, and this idiot in this van is just honking repeatedly over and over again. And I got pissed off at the guy, but what the guy did, the worst thing that the guy did, is the guy pushed past my mom's car, and I thought he was gonna hit her. He was like so close. It was maybe like a centimeter away. That's how close he was. He was so impatient. He pushed past and almost hit my mom's car, and that was when my dad and my mom were in front of the car, also doing the jumper cables. And the guy didn't even drive off. At that point, he basically says, opens up his window and just starts, saying, "You can't block the road. You can't block the road." Stuff like that. When I was telling him not to come down the road in the first place, and literally just, he sees a car with hazard lights, a car that's stalled in the middle of the street, and just doing that stuff. But I'm from New York, and this is the New Yorker mentality. This is very common. Idiot drivers like this in New York, that they have no patience, they get pissed off way too quickly, and that's the reason that New Yorkers are so rude. A lot of people don't know the main reason New Yorkers are rude. The main reason New Yorkers are rude is because they have no patience. That's the main reason. They can't wait for anything. New Yorkers have to have everything right away. Everything rush, rush, rush. That's why they're a lot of times so rude. It's because of that. Now, what I said to the guy is I yelled at him, and this was maybe like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I probably woke some people up, but I was getting pissed, and I was getting pissed because he was constantly honking, and if his honking didn't wake the neighborhood up, my yelling did. But I basically said to him, "Do you not see we got a goddamn car broken in the middle of the road?" Like, I literally said that to him. And what happened is the guy basically just stared at me, like he stopped yelling, and then he just drove off. And what happened was when I said that, my dad was just like staring at me. Like he was just staring at me because like I never yelled, and it scared the crap out of my dad. Like my dad got scared when I yelled because I almost never do that, and so that it kind of just creeped him out when that happened. But I was just not having it. I was pissed and I was annoyed, and like trying to help my mom in the middle of the night get her car unstuck, and then this idiot just keeps like honking, honking, honking like a moron. And that was that's that. Did she stall in the city or something? It was Queens. It was like it wasn't like a suburban Queens. It was more like an area of some apartment buildings, some stores. No, I don't live in Brooklyn. My parents live on Long Island right now, but I'm from Brooklyn originally. You know what I'll tell you guys, the most annoying thing in New York, like literally the most annoying thing for me when you're driving is when you're at a red light in New York, the second that the red light turns green, like the second, like not even 1 second has passed by, it's more like a millisecond, these idiots will honk at you. Like the first second that the light turns green, they'll instantly honk at you. I hate that. That has always aggravated me so much. It's always irritated me so much. I cannot stand that. It made me so mad when people do that. Hey, thanks for helping me yesterday. No problem, Unknown Notion. I'm glad I was able to help you out. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Why are New Yorkers like that? The main reason that New Yorkers are rude is because they have no patience. That's the main reason. New Yorkers, they're always multitasking. They're always doing multiple things at once. They're rushing, and they have no patience. They expect everything to be done 1, 2, 3. Like 1, 2, 3. Like for example, like business owners will tell you that the worst clients they have are New Yorkers because New Yorkers expect everything to be done 1, 2, 3 right away. So that's what I say is yeah. I guess when I move to the Midwest, I guess people are generally surprised when I tell them to take their time, that they don't have to rush, because they know I'm from New York. But that's I understand that attitude because I grew up in that, but I'm not like that when I'm older. But that was like New Yorkers are just the reason that the rudeness is because of the impatience. They have no patience. That's the main reason. You know that one movie that one ridiculous like comedy movie Borat, if anybody's ever seen Borat. But in Borat, like the first part of the movie, I know that movie takes place in New York City, and all of that footage is real. By the way, it's not staged. And the New Yorkers in that movie are like the most rudest people in the whole movie, and that was not unrealistic. I remember there's one part on the when he's on the subway and he asks this random guy, he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And the guy says, "My name is Mind Your Own Effing Business." And that's very like that's very common for New Yorkers. Like New Yorkers will respond just like that. So that was that. The funny thing is, a lot of the New Yorkers in that movie tried to sue him, saying that he made them look bad, like bad people, but they were the ones who were being nasty themselves. But yeah, but that's basically it. It's ultimately like it's ultimately like the impatience in that movie. The impatience in that movie is why the impatience in real life is why New Yorkers are so rude. Does New Jersey have that same mentality? Yeah. People in New Jersey can be very rude as well. It's New Jersey and New York just have a rudeness problem overall. It happens in both states. I think I would say probably the nicest people that I think I've ever come across are the in North Dakota. The North Dakotans. I think they are probably the nicest people ever. I remember when I visited North Dakota for a couple days. I remember the people in the hotel were so nice. Restaurant were so nice. People in general just very very nice, like overly nice. I got a little creeped out because people were so super nice, but I guess it's just their culture there. But that was the nicest place I visited was North Dakota, where people were very nice. But I guess I'll be wrapping up the stream here, guys. I haven't, it was my birthday, Pat. Oh, happy birthday, D. Everybody wish D a happy birthday. Um, I had a good experience visiting New York last month. Yeah, and I will tell you guys this is if you ever encounter any rude New Yorkers, just ignore them. Don't even acknowledge them. Just walk away from them. Don't even engage with them because people are just yeah. So I don't have any toleration for rude people. Like I don't want somebody killing my mood. But yeah, if I encountered people like that, like I know Borat is supposed to be comedy, but like some of the people in Borat, like some of those New Yorkers were like very rude, like very rude. And you know, if I encounter people like that, I'm just gonna walk away from them. I do not want anything to do with people like that. I don't even want to talk to people like that. It's just yeah, that is But I'll be going here. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm really hungry. I'll answer. We could do my heist next stream. Yeah, we can do it next stream. No problem, Raccoon. I wanted to try to get to your stream today, but I mean your heist today, but I just didn't have time. I'm sorry. Like you said on your Deborah and Floyd lore video, everyone has their limits. Yeah, and Floyd was one of the nicest people in the GTA series overall. Floyd might be the second nicest person in the entire GTA series. Number one would probably be Kate, but Floyd would probably be number two most nicest person, and even Floyd has his limits. So that's I'll say everyone has their limits. Everyone has a breaking point at some point. Sometimes I'll do the original heist, but I don't really like doing them. I like doing Casino or Kyle personally. They're more simple. But I guess I'll be going here, guys. Is Tino a sociopath or a psychopath? I think that Tino is more of a sociopath because psychopaths don't have loyalty to anyone. Tino is seriously loyal to Teresi. But psychopaths really have no loyalty to anyone. But Tino, I would just say, is a really bad sociopath. Oh, thank you, Steph. But I guess I'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you guys enjoyed the stream, please do drop a like. I hope that you guys have a great Sunday. And also, again, everyone, I will be I'll have the lore video this week coming up. Give me a couple days. I know it's supposed to come out this weekend, but I didn't realize how long the lore video is. The lore video turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it would be. But I will have a lot more content coming out in a few shorts this week. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.